Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here. We're going to get you going the right way this Wednesday morning in the nation's capital. In 30 minutes, we're going to hear from Robin Ficker, running for Congress, Maryland 6. 8:05, Selena Zito, her brand new book, Butler. It's about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. She was there front row, but it's actually about the election. It's about America. No one covers the Donald Trump presidency like Selena Zito, and she'll join us at 8:05. 8:35 brings us David Bernstein, founder of North American Values Institute, a new book called Woke Anti-Semitism, How a Progressive Ideology Harms Jews. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm good, and I'm thrilled to speak with Ned Ryun. I love having him on the show. He, of course, the founder and CEO of American Majority. Ned, good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Bethany.
Well, we got an announcement yesterday that I think for many of us was a long time coming, but at the same time, I'm trying to remain cautiously optimistic, yet at the same time cynical. CIA Director, former John Brennan, and the ex-FBI Director James Comey are being investigated for potential criminal conduct related to the Russiagate hoax. But, Ned, first of all, what details do we know about what exactly they're being investigated for and what crimes they may have committed? And tell me that I shouldn't be cynical, because I'm just assuming that they knew exactly what they could and could not do, and still stay within the confines of criminal conduct.
Well, I mean, the one thing that stuck out to me, Larry, was, especially about John Brennan, let's go back to 2017. He took what he knew was a fake dossier, the Steele dossier, which was produced by the Clinton campaign. He knew all of this. He knew it was fake. He insisted that it be included. Now we know. We had suspected. Now we know. He insisted that it be inserted into the intelligence community assessment so that it would legitimize the Steele dossier and be used as justification for targeting Donald Trump. Well, then in May of 23, Brennan then testified that he didn't have anything to do with that. He never inserted the dossier into the ICA. And now we're finding out that actually he probably perjured himself. So I know that Ratcliffe was the one that released some of these documents, and I think for a fact that they're going to be looking at Brennan for perjuring himself. But let's go back and remind people what they did, not too long ago when James Comey and Andrew McCabe and James Baker. So there's a few names, Larry, by the way, that I think are missing from this. I hope that they eventually get to these names. But again, Andrew McCabe, James Baker, who was general counsel of the FBI, again, using a fake dossier that they knew was fake, used it not once, not twice, 4 times to secure FISA warrants to backdoor spying on the Trump campaign. And so when you look at what they did, this was no mistake. This was deeply intentional. And I would remind people this was purely political by the head of the FBI and the CIA over policy differences to target Donald Trump.
There's a lot to unpack there, but one thing that it seems to be critical to the narrative here, and that was they knew the Steele dossier was fake. I know they knew it came from the Clinton campaign, but what evidence do we have now that they knew for a fact that it was full of garbage?
Well, Comey as much admitted back in the day. There were reports not too long after 2017 that he admitted they knew that this was a very suspicious document. They knew it was not nearly they could not really justify the use of it, and they went ahead and did it. No, there have been reports in which they knew exactly what they were doing. And I think the one word that stuck out to me yesterday, Larry, was this: conspiracy. I mean, this was definitely a conspiracy between very powerful elements. You can call it the deep state, whatever you want to call it, the FBI, DOJ, and our intel community, in which they were definitely coordinating everything they were doing back in 2016 and 2017, all to target Donald Trump. And I would remind people, again, it was political over policy differences, but really in some ways it was about who decides. And Donald Trump had shown up in D.C. and said, I'm the one who decides, and they said, we don't think so. We think we're the ones who decide.
So when we talked about this earlier in the show, Larry was not so didn't really believe that this would lead to actual.
I'm cynical. I don't believe anybody's going to get perp walked. I'm sorry. There's no reason to believe
I think
it at this point.
I think that's a legitimate concern. I mean, if we were actually believing, and the reason I think this is so important, if we truly believed in the rule of law, that everyone stands equal before the law, equal application of the law, it doesn't matter who you are, position you've held, anything, these guys would be in jail. I mean, if you were to look at the fact and what they did, their massive abuse of power, their massive abuse of trust, what I consider to be highly illegal acts, they would be in jail. So are we going to have that satisfaction? I don't know, but I think this is a fundamental issue for us as a people and a country. Do we actually believe in the rule of law? Do we actually believe in the equal application of the law? Do we believe that there need to be consequences for this abuse so we can actually have and restore trust in institutions? I mean, this is fundamental to who we're going to be 20 years from now.
Mm-hmm. So I poured water a little bit on Larry's cynicism, which I also share, by saying I don't know how smart Jim Comey was in covering his tracks. Right. Do you think that, if we are reading the facts as they are, do you think that the case is strong, or did they sort of CYA enough that they'll be able to evade it?
That is in many ways $1 million question. Did they cover their tracks enough? Did they check enough boxes? Did they give it the veneer of legality, even though there has been some admission along the way that they knew this dossier was fake and what they were using for justification to target Trump was completely bogus? I mean, again, that's $1 million question. I don't know, but I have to tell you, the fact that they're even launching an investigation into Brennan and Comey is a massive step in the right direction. Yeah. Now, are we going to actually get to the ultimate conclusion where they can actually prove beyond a doubt they did what we 99% sure they did? I don't know, but I can't tell you how thrilled I am that we're actually having an investigation. It's a long time coming, and finally we're here.
Amen. We're speaking with Ned Ryun. He's the founder and CEO of American Majority. By the way, you said, call it the deep state, call it what you want. How about we call it the American Leviathan, since that's the name of the great book that you wrote about this and the documentary that goes along with it. It really is a terrific book about all of the things that the Trump administration is hoping to dismantle and has already done quite a bit in that regard, but there's a long way to go. We got to mention Barack Obama's name in all of this, don't we, Ned Ryun? Yeah. I mean, when you said Brennan knew that this was a fake dossier, Brennan briefed Obama about the Steele dossier and about the fact that Hillary Clinton's campaign was coming up with this fake story as an Oppo research tool against Trump. So when Obama fast-tracked this investigating the intel community's conclusions that Russia had meddled in the 2016 election, he knew full well when he fast-tracked that it was based on lies. Shouldn't Obama's name be bandied about quite a bit in this criminal investigation?
It should be. I think if they continue to pull the thread, and again, I love the fact that they used conspiracy because that's going to give them, I think, a lot of room to go in different directions. I'm convinced, Larry, you keep pulling the thread. As you just mentioned, we know full well that Obama and Joe Biden were intimately acquainted with what was going on with what Brennan and Comey and others were doing. I think you keep pulling the thread. I think there's no way you can't end up in the Oval Office with Barack Obama and Joe Biden being intimately acquainted and fully part of, again, what has been described as a conspiracy.
Ned, quickly, though, this is going to be painted, they're already doing it in the New York Times, Washington Post, cable news, that this is Banana Republic, this is Trump investigating his enemies. But what they're investigating is literally Banana Republic behavior from Obama and the team. That's just the fact. So pick your Banana Republic, guys. The Obama administration who lied about the incoming Trump administration, or the Trump administration who's finally investigating the criminal behavior.
Exactly. I'll make it brief, but this is why last night on Laura Ingraham I opened up by saying people are going to start screaming on the left and the corporate propagandists that this is political payback, this is settling of political scores. Has nothing to do with that. This is, again, about are we going to actually restore the rule of law, equal application of the law? Will there be consequences for highly illegal acts and the breaking of public trust and abuse of power? That's what this is about. And that's why I think they've got to get this to the ultimate conclusion where people actually go to jail, because we don't want to see this happen again. And if there are no consequences, what happens next will be even worse.
Amen. Real fast, Ned, do you think because of the political ramifications and the concerns, is it appropriate to get a special prosecutor on this?
That is a question for them. I don't know which direction they're going to go. But again, I hope that they have the political and moral courage, and I believe they do in the Trump administration, the DOJ and the FBI, that they show the courage necessary to do this despite the attacks that are already beginning to try and paint this in, the political score settling light.
Yeah.
This is fundamental to who we are as a people, who we are as a country. And I think for the good of the country, for the good of the people, for the good of the values that we were founded on, they have to pursue this all the way to its ultimate end.
Amen. Ned Ryun, American Majority, and American Leviathan. Check that out. Thanks, Ned.
All right. Thanks, guys.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel. And Bethany, we had another cabinet meeting yesterday. It seems like they're having cabinet meetings once a month. I don't remember them having more than one a year in the Biden administration.
I know that we have a different opinion about Jake Tapper's book. I enjoyed it very much.
Yes.
And one thing I learned, so I think Jake Tapper's book was really instructive because there was a lot of things that kind of got lost in the moment, and it really sort of centered my attention back on just how unprecedented the Biden administration was. Mm-hmm. And the revelations that I learned in that book, maybe other people do them already, or maybe I forgot them, I don't know, about how Biden was reading off of note cards during cabinet meetings, how they didn't have cabinet meetings. All of that I found to be very shocking. And so I'm watching these cabinet meetings with Tapper and Alex Thompson's book in the back of my head thinking, golly, what a difference.
Amazing to have a chief executive that can actually take charge and run things and have a cabinet that is engaged. Mm-hmm. And my favorite part about these meetings before they send the cameras out is that he gives each of the secretaries an opportunity to sort of present, what did you do this month, right? What's the latest you can bring to the table? Listen to the administrator of the EPA. Quick, Bethany, who is Biden's EPA administrator?
Lee Zeldin, I love him.
No, who is Biden's?
Oh, I don't know. Whoever donated money to him.
But Lee Zeldin is amazing. He's been a revelation in this role, and he had something really alarming to report yesterday at the meeting. Take a listen.
They gave $50 million to a group called Climate Justice Alliance. They say that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. The Biden EPA gave $50 million to a group that says that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. We say that if you're going to spend $1 in the name of remediating an environmental issue, then spend $1 on remediating an environmental issue.
That's right. A Climate Justice Alliance got $50 million from Biden's EPA, and they also then send money and spend their time advocating for a free Palestine because, environmental concerns is all about supporting Hamas.
Yes. This was, so I don't know if you know this about me. I used to be a super lib. Not just a lib, but
you were insufferable. You were a New Yorker.
Yeah. I was beating my bongo outside of Fox News saying this is what democracy looks like. And this stuff is what turned me rightwards because the mission creep that happens in these organizations. And I learned as an adult that the fact that the money is coming from somewhere in all of these left-wing groups, like Answer Coalition, they're getting money from foreign governments like the Iranians, like the Chinese government. Answer has worked in sync with American Muslims for Palestine and Students for Justice in Palestine. They were channeling millions of dollars to media organizations that were in sync with the CCP. Like, they are bad people, and they align themselves with literal terrorists.
And when the Trump administration says, we're not going to be spending money on that stuff anymore, people will scream and say, oh, my gosh, that means hurricanes are coming, and that means that floods are coming. It's like, no, none of that money was actually, as Lee Zeldin just said, if you're going to spend money on climate remediation or environmental remediations, then spend your money on that, not on politics, especially politics that, by the way, is contrary to American foreign policy. That's what's so enraging about this.
Yeah, no, they are actual terrorists. Yeah. And there's so much important reporting done to this effect, but people have no idea how crazy these people are and how heck bent they are on the destruction. I don't know what I can say now.
No, that's good. I appreciate that. I do. Better safe than sorry. All right, there's another aspect of this that needs to be discussed, or at least another moment at the cabinet meeting that needs attention here. President Trump and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, was asked about the contradictory reports we've been getting about the Epstein files. And Donald Trump jumped in, which we'll take a listen. It's cut 6. He sounds a little defensive here.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of his death?
Yeah, sure.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
All right, so let me jump in real fast. And again, I mean, you're not going to tell me that I'm not a supporter of President Trump and his agenda and his administration. But, you got to call it as it is. And he's real tone deaf on this.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Given the accusations against Jeffrey Epstein and the violation and horrific criminal acts that had been alleged against young girls and the powerful men that it appears got away with it because of their money and their political connections, I'm sorry, don't be shocked that we want some resolution on this. Of course we're still talking about it. It's the most horrific, criminal, violent violation of the most innocent among us, young girls. We're not going to let it go.
Yeah.
We deserve to have some better answers, and it's weird to me. It was really tone deaf of him to be shocked that people are still concerned about Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, we're still concerned. We're still talking about it because we did not get adequate answers. And from a strategic standpoint, you got to throw us a bone at least. Like, don't stop gaslighting me that there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing there.
Yeah, and
Maxwell
like, what,
went
you
to
still
prison.
Care about this? Of course we care about
Maxwell went to prison for trafficking, but we don't know to who. We don't know any of those. Like, you got to give me something. Yeah. Pretend like you're actually still looking into this and that this is actually a thing, because it is. We all know it's a thing. We're not dum-dums.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, there was one other great moment in the cabinet meeting, an exchange between President Trump and Marco Rubio over a clock that the president acquired from the State Department for his own facilities at the White House. We'll share that. We're out of time here right now, but we'll share that with you a little later in the program. You're going to want to hear it.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here. Joining us at 8:05 will be the great Selena Zito, wonderful columnist and journalist, and she's got a brand new book. It's called Butler, because she was there in the front row that fateful day 1 year ago this week when an assassin's bullet grazed by the skull of Donald Trump on the campaign trail. A compelling book, and Selena Zito will join us to talk about it coming up in just 30 minutes. Also at 8:35, founder of North American Values Institute and author of Woke Anti-Semitism, David Bernstein will join us. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel. Bethany, you just revealed that you used to be a crazy left-wing lib. But and which, by the way, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't try. No, you're the most dangerous kind of conservative to the left, because you know who they are. My
favorite thing to write about is how hypocritical liberals are. When they talk about checking privilege and I bring receipts, man.
Yep, I love that about you. Also, a dangerous conservative is a man named Robin Ficker. He knows where all the bodies are buried in Maryland politics, and specifically Montgomery and Frederick County. That's why it's quite interesting that he's decided to run for the 6th congressional district seat in Maryland. And Robin, you're getting a good head start on this because the primary is 9 months, 10 months away.
It's the last day of June, but I want to support my neighbor, President Donald Trump. And I call him my neighbor because Camp David is in my district. Donald Trump comes by the house every now and then. He flies over it on the way to Camp David. And I lived near Sugarloaf Mountain, which was almost the presidential retreat, except the guy that owned it, Mr. Strong, didn't want to sell it to Franklin Roosevelt, so they made it Camp David. If it had been here at Sugarloaf Mountain where my daughter got married, I would have invited Donald over to play golf at Little Bennett Golf Course. And if I'd been leading on the 18th hole, I would have missed a couple of putts to let him win.
Well, I love that winery and brewery right at the base of Sugarloaf. We'll have to catch up with each other sometime over there. Listen, you live in the district. Last I checked, I think your current Congresswoman, April McLean Delaney, did she like rent a one-bedroom apartment or something in the district? What's her resident status?
Well, I don't know what her resident status is. She owns about 6 houses. None of them are in the district. But I also live right near I-270, and I want to get Donald Trump to help us improve I-270, which is the main road between Montgomery and Frederick, which hasn't been improved since I was in high school. There's a backup every day. They've built Urbana, they've built Clarksburg, they put in the premium outlets, but they haven't widened the road. And now everyone is sitting there reading their paper or doing their hair while they're trying to get home.
Bethany, how great would it be to have a congressman in Maryland 6 who can actually get the president to work with him, who actually could get cooperation from the administration?
So that's my question. So there's a lot of things that are unique to our area that we don't currently have representation, in Congress advocating for our best interests. One of them is the problem of illegal immigration and the crime that comes with it. What are some of your thoughts about, what is your first action plan when you get into office and you're ready to hit the ground running? What's number one on your agenda?
Well, I certainly want to control the illegal immigration and secure our borders, and I'm delighted that the big, beautiful bill goes a long way towards doing that. But we have a problem in my district, which isn't necessarily a federal problem, because in Frederick City, they allow non-citizens to vote there, and that's not right because it dilutes the vote of all good people in Frederick.
How is that legal?
Good question.
I'm shocked to hear that. How could that possibly be legal?
Well, they allow it in D.C., and the D.C. House, the U.S. House, has disallowed that in D.C., but it hasn't gone through the Senate yet. But that's what's happened here. They've gotten so liberal, some of the people in Frederick County, that they're allowing non-citizens to vote in citizens election in the city election, and I'm opposed to that. While the incumbent has remained as silent as a little church mouse.
You talk about silence. April Delaney just won this seat last November, and she's been in office now representing Maryland 6 for 6 months. I kid you, I'm paid to follow the news, Robin Ficker, and I couldn't tell you one thing this Congresswoman has done in 6 months.
Well, it's because she doesn't have any history of working in the district at all. She's been sort of the Potomac Beltway person in the past. She worked for I believe the U.S. Department of Commerce, trying to bring in broadband, oversaw a huge budget and didn't bring in broadband to one city.
Yeah. Oh, I know. She's been a failure left and right. But that's my last question for you, Robin, because, listen, Maryland politics. You've run for various offices, and you've had quite a bit of success in Montgomery County at the ballot initiative level, et cetera. But, boy, there is a long string of high-profile, really good men and women who have run for this seat. It seems like it's in grasp, but they have districted this thing in such a way that they always find enough Democrat votes. How is it going to be different for you this time?
Well, in the Republican primary for the U.S. Senate, I won Garrett County and came within a whisker of winning Allegheny County. I've lived my life in Montgomery County. I'll have a running mate in Montgomery County, which is the ballot question, which I helped write, to limit county spending to the rate of inflation. Inflation was 2.9%. The county budget increased 7.4%, and the school budget, which has a record 45% overhead, increased 9.4%, while inflation's increasing only 2.9%. So I'm going to be a watchdog. I have a base, a life lived in the 6th District. As a matter of fact, I was appointed to West Point by Congressman Foley, who was a Democrat from Western Maryland. So I've lived here. I know the district. I love the district. We're going to improve I-270. We're going to control spending, and we're going to decrease the deficit, not increase it.
There it is. Robin Ficker for Congress. He's got an 11-month head start now on the primary. You can get more information at voteficker.com, voteficker.com. Thanks, Robin. Good talking with you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Bethany.
It's 7:44.
Wednesday on the Derek Hunter Show, they're telling you that Superman is an immigrant, and if you have a problem with that, you're the problem. That's not a very good marketing move. We'll talk about it at 3 o'clock on WMAL.
A Republican president once proclaimed from the White House that the American people should know if their president is a crook. He went on to say that he was not a crook. You know how that story ended. But yesterday, President Trump did something extraordinary. He actually admitted to a theft that he had perpetrated. It wasn't against the law, but he definitely stole something from Marco Rubio. Take a listen to this story. It's fantastic.
So as president, you have the power. If I go into the State Department or Department of Commerce or Treasury, if I see anything that I like, I'm allowed to take it. Do you believe this? So I'm in Marco's. I see this gorgeous clock, grandfather clock, and there it is. I said, Marco. He didn't know about it. I had to read him the rule and regulation. I said, Marco, I love this clock. Look at it. It's beautiful. He said, what clock? I said, the clock that's in the other room is incredible, and nobody gets to see it there. Marco, I tried to talk him into it first, and it sort of worked, and then I had to use a little more. I said, I'd love to take that clock out and put it in the cabinet room. He said, no, are you serious? I said, Marco, I have the right to do it, Marco. That's his contribution to the cabinet room, but it's, by the way, it's an incredible clock.
I love the camaraderie there appears to be right now, because all the laughter you heard were from the other cabinet secretaries, Bethany.
I love it so much. This is like one of the things that no one talks about is how funny he is. He is such a funny guy. And I, too, have walked around the State Department wanting to pick things out for my personal decoration.
Right.
And now I'm wondering, why can't I do it?
No, that would be frowned upon. I suggest you not do that, Bethany, if you're ever at Foggy Bottom.
Art is so good.
I think my favorite part is when he said, he says, Marco, I love that clock. And Marco's like, what clock? Rubio's trying to do his job. He probably doesn't even notice the furnishings. Meanwhile, Trump, that's what he's done his whole life, right? Here's a little bit more here. Cut 13A, is it?
I said, I'd love to take that clock out and put it in the cabinet room. He said, no, are you serious? I said, Marco, I have the right to do it, Marco. And he said, all right, what the so that's his contribution.
There you go. What the bleep. So I love that because when you hear him say Marco like that, you immediately go back to the campaign in 2016 when he called him Little Marco.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's good. I think there's been a lot of whispers, especially after the Ukraine blow up that happened in the Oval. There was a lot of memes about Marco sitting there stewing and angry, and you can see that that's not the case.
That's not the case.
They all get along very well. It's all in good fun, and it's just nice to see them all awake and alive at a cabinet meeting.
Right, compared to the last presidency. No, they all get along, and it's all good fun until the primaries for 2028 start ramping up. Because then, there's a lot of people sitting in that room who are all working together and having fun, who are probably going to be running against each other. And hopefully they can stay on good terms. We need that. It's 7:53.